aka Brandon. We're at episode 36 of the Anime Dojo. I'm alongside Chris this evening. Chris, how you doing?
Doing pretty good, bro. And you?
Doing well. I hope everybody had a good Christmas holiday. We're heading into New Year's out, getting into the new year. We have a lot of new anime coming out for the new year, but we have some other things to get into. We have episode 47 of JJK, the Metamorphosis Part 2, and we also have the final episode of Dead Mount Death Play, Part 2 of Season 1. But first, let's get into some news. We have three big things to go out talk about. Spy and the Family put out Spy and the Family Code White. They actually tweeted out a thing about how well it did. We also got some news from Netflix. They're taking a Pokemon thing. I'll get into that because I think that's kind of crazy. And then we have the anime charts. So we're going to start off with Spy and the Family. Spy and the Family put out Code White. This was the movie they were going to put out in Japan during the Christmas holiday. Within the first 3 days, it made over 1.2 billion yen. That's pretty good. I can't say it's a bad number when you see um, a couple things of like uh, Mugen Train. We've had other movies, other like anime movies hit the big screen, the silver screen. Chris, what do you think about Code White getting 1.2 billion yen in their first 3 days?
I was trying to see how much that was in US. Do we have an idea?
I can do the conversion real quick. If I had to guess,
Yeah, let's see what that is in
I would if I
US.
have to do that. Can
Because
I would think that's pretty. That's about 500 million, maybe 500,000 million, somewhere in there.
let's see. I'm trying to pull the calculator up because depending on what that amount is, when you compare it to American shows and movies, I'm trying to see how well that does in comparison.
Because ultimately, that's still. I mean, what did Mugen Train do? Mugen Train did 1 billion
Mugen,
yen, which ended up
mhm.
being about I think $20,000 American at the time.
Which so if it made, let's just say if 1.2 that is bigger than let's say if they made more than 400,000, then they did pretty good.
Yeah.
So in my opinion, what that would be, how well would it do across globally if it gets treated the same as fifth round globally?
I think it will do well globally. I think it's coming out in 2024. So 1.2 billion yen converts to 8,412,000 412,256.88
So in that case,
all
it did very well. It,
it
it
did
did
very
very
well.
well.
Do
It did
you
better than
think
the Marvel movies. Oops.
yes it did? Yeah, it did. That's something to think about. That's crazy. Do you think we're just gonna get all these anime studios just say, okay, you know what? We're gonna make movies. We're gonna do the movies, and as
Because
we're
of
doing these movies, um, we as we do these movies, they're just gonna all say we're gonna put them in theaters. We think they're gonna do well enough. Just throw them in the theaters and see what happens. Because I
but
think
I
with
don't
Mugen,
see. Go ahead.
I would think with Mugen Train and then Spy and the Family doing well, and then we're getting the other side, Demon Slayer, coming out in 2024 in February. I think there's no stopping this train.
There needs to be no stopping it because this season ended out on a good note, and we're going into what's already a good season, followed by the spring, which is already set records on the number of shows that they're putting out.
Correct. Um, they said it will come out in 2024 in overseas and worldwide in 2024. When do you think that will be? I assume it's going to
Say
be
that again.
sometime in. When do you think it will come out overseas or worldwide? Spy and Family Code White. I'm thinking summertime because they don't want to go up in the early year against Demon Slayer, or do you think more wintertime?
Neither. I think we might get it in the next sometime in February.
Oh, so you think we could
Or,
have?
or closer to the end of the winter season.
So you think we could have Mugen Train and Code White, Spy and Family Code White back to back, pretty much?
Yep. Why
That would
not?
be
They're movies.
that. You're right. You're right. I don't blame you there. I just think it's kind of interesting because like usually you wouldn't do that as a movie company.
No, but I mean, it's a different set of rules that they live or that they do in Japan. I mean,
Correct. Correct.
and of course, depending on what they got going on, it can be different all the way around. Because we ultimately think the movie's been made, so all they got to do is dub it.
Yes, they would dub it. That's all they would have to do.
So,
Dub it.
so it, and that might take a month or a month, 2 months max.
Yeah, and you already have the American actors who do the dubbing already, so
Exactly.
it wouldn't be hard to do. You could do that within time frame pretty handily.
Right.
I think the other thing I'm kind of interested in now, if we're getting this, seeing the fact we're getting the movie for My Hero Academia later in the year, I'm honestly fine with movies
Hmm.
as long as you do one or two things. Either you make them you have to make them non-canon, or if you're gonna make them canon, if you're gonna not make them canon at first and make them canon later, then show us why you're making them canon. In the case of My Hero Academia, the movie is gonna be after season 7, so the canon wouldn't matter. But I did hear a thing with that it might between season 6 and 7 is where this movie's gonna land, so it's gonna be within the canon. Um, I think Demons. I think JDK did the best with their movie. It's JDK, JDK Zero, but they've been taking that Zero and using it within the canon of the actual series. So it's like you still get the bits and pieces. Um, I'll be interested. What so along those lines, what other movie would you want to see next done? Current anime,
Mm.
previous anime. What movie would you want to see
Dr.
go get a?
Stone,
Oh, oh,
because they already did a movie and it was good.
yeah. I would like to see. It's gonna be a weird one, but I would like to see if Dead Death Deathplay keeps on this trajectory. Give me Dead Deathplay the movie and make that arc either the last arc or the whatever, or make a movie and just kind of like tell that story. That'd be fun. Um, at this point, I would also think Zom 100 to be on that list because I think Zom 100 getting the last 4 episodes of their season this on Christmas Day, which I forgot I didn't watch yet. I think that's also kind of
Hmm.
in that realm of like they could just make a movie.
Yeah.
But
At
it'll
this
be
point, they
interesting.
should.
They should, yeah. Zom 100 should make a movie. That's kind of the basis for this, I think. Like for them, I think them working so hard to get the last episodes out and it took forever. I think they can make a movie and make it a lot more cohesive.
Yeah.
So now let's get into the other story. And Chris, I do apologize. I'm gonna ask you first, then I'll go on my rant because Netflix. What in the world are y'all doing? Netflix announced they are making
Much.
a Pokemon live action with Tom Holland playing, I think, Ash Ketchum. Um, one, did you see the trailer I sent you? And two, do you think this is actually a good idea?
So one, I do not think it's a good idea. Two, why would they go so far? And three, I really hope that was a fan made trailer.
That didn't look fan made.
Man, say
That ain't
Pokemon is one of the overdone, overused anime genres, bro. Like honestly, like they supposed to have ended it and then just created a new character. Like, bro, really?
the the only the only saving grace with this. You do have the Pokemon company's backing. So which means the Pokemon company will have the ability to oversee what they're doing. The other thing I think the reason they're doing it Did you ever watch Detective Pikachu?
Yes.
What you think about that? Because I think this is like a continuation of what
I
Detective Pikachu
think it
did.
was animated well. I think it was animated well, and but I think they could have went a little bit more heavy with the story.
Okay,
Like I understand the Pokemon Company wants to keep all of their shows and stuff kid friendly, but but if they can somehow reach out to the base that they started with, the people who are now in their 30s and early 40s,
correct.
those old fans, they wouldn't mind probably seeing something with a little bit more serious tone,
I
you know.
I mean, do it like, and I don't know if this is a weird comparison, but they've always got compared in the past. Do it like Digimon. Digimon was the same way. Digimon was around the same period, and as Digimon grew, people grew up in Digimon. They got more serious with Digimon. Um, the only thing I don't like about this, I think this is for next year. They said this is for next year, and I don't think that's a smart idea when you've already announced. Let me go down the list. I'm not going down everything. We've done this before. One Piece season 2 coming back. We have
Hmm.
Devil May Cry. We have The Witcher. We have uh Yu Yu Hakusho. You have
Hmm.
you have Scott Pilgrim. You have like it. It boggles my mind because Netflix, you're throwing out money like it's candy, or you literally hoping to survive on these shows and hope they do well enough to where you can make more Stranger Things, do more of your own
But
original things,
but
which is
wasn't it
fine.
just like earlier this year that Netflix was going out of business at one point because they were so close to like losing all of their customers and everything?
Correct, because
So where they gonna come with all this money from?
they raised the price for Netflix to, like, I think we talked about it a couple weeks ago, $14 for the middle version, $17 for the upper version, which just seems kind of insane when Crunchyroll's 10, Disney's 10. Like, it's a hard pill to swallow when you think about it. And I think the thing is they're trying to put more content out there, which I'm cool with. I'm not saying the content should not be out there. I think you need to slow down and let things start putting things out, then announce this. Now, if Pokemon Company came to you and said, we did the first Pokemon movie, the Detective Pikachu, I don't know if Netflix was involved in that. But it's funny, the character from Detective Pikachu is in that trailer. So it kind of tells you that this is a continuation of that story a little bit, but also tells you
Maybe so.
that Pokemon Company went to Netflix and goes, here's a bag of money. We want you to make this, and we're going to oversee it. And Netflix going to refuse.
Well, yeah, it's different when somebody come with you with a bag of money and ask you to do something. That's in a completely different story.
But
So
that's
so
all.
if that actually happened, then I would say go for it.
But I think it's going to suffer. I think it's ultimately going to suffer comparatively because I don't think Netflix doesn't understand. I think Netflix is trying to keep within the space. They're trying to be the second leader of anime content, movie content, what do you want to call it? They have all these animated shows, and yet,
Yes, that. Hey, bro, hold up.
um,
Come on.
so at this point, I don't
You good, Brandon?
think. Okay, at this point, I don't think it's it's a if when you've filled up everything so far, and now you're trying to you're trying to keep a thing afloat. Um, but at the same time, I don't think when is that bubble going to burst, because that bubble's going to burst eventually.
Did she
and
lock her knee?
uh, and that bubble won't. I don't think Netflix will know when that bubble will burst because I think they understand. Hey, ultimately, that bubble is at its peak, but it's more or less still. It's still in that range of, hey, here's what they've done all these things already. Everything is, you know, all these stuff's already sent out, so they have other things down the pipeline. Things already been made. It's just I don't think they understand what they have to do. Um, Ultimately, we'll see where this goes. I think the one big thing I would like to see if this is actually going to be a Netflix only release is if the Pokemon company really go their out of their way to make sure the Pokemon look good. Um, the Pokemon look good. Everything is running well. Chris will be back in a second. He had to deal with something, but um, I don't. I have to see what they're going to do now. I actually think the trailer looks interesting. I have to give them credit. You are using the same assets from like the previous movie, the Detective Pikachu. The Pikachu looks the same, Charizard, all that kind of stuff. Ash is in here now, so I don't know if they're doing the like gym battles and stuff, or it's more like gym battles mixed with something else. Um, don't really know how much that's gonna change over time, but I think it's gonna change eventually. Um, but I also will say, thinking about this, what other things Netflix are trying to do? Because they've gotten so many announcements and things out in the past month and a half, 2 months, even three in a 3 month period, they don't know when to think stop or just it's weird. It's odd. Um, but we'll see how much that kicks in. Um, on the flip side of this too, I did see. I think the article mentioned. Well, the video I saw from there. Hold on, let me pull it back up real quick. The video mentions one other thing which I think was interesting because it does mention that Tom Holland is in the movie, so it's a teaser trailer. It's not like a full on trailer at all, really. Um,
What'd you say now? You was that a question?
no, I was. Oh, you're right though. It does say in the YouTube video it's a fan concept, which weird because it has the Netflix logo stuff on it. So I don't know. Hmm. That's weird. That's a weird way to do that. Do you, Chris? Do you like fan concepts, or do you think when fan concepts bleed into actual, like, not real life, but like, will actually be a part of something? Do you think it's a good idea? 'Cause I didn't. I didn't notice that at first, and I'm like, oh, this is a fan concept, but this is actually something Netflix made themselves. It has Netflix branding on it because that's kind of weird. That makes it a little more difficult than if it's a fan concept, but Netflix branding on it because that means the branding for Netflix is still there, but somebody mocked up the trailer. But if it's a mock trailer, it looks kind of good for a mock trailer. It's insanely good. Um, I don't know.
You
It's huh?
wonder how many people are going to get fooled by it.
Well, and I just looked it back up, and I'm just like, that's odd because I don't know what that entails now. But a lot of people are probably gonna get fooled by it, but it looks pretty. It looks legit. Like it looks totally legit. It's scary legit. But if it actually comes to be a thing, I'll be shocked. But let's roll into the anime charts. And these anime charts are kind of weird. And weird in the sense like they changed again in the weirdest way possible. And yet it it was not something I would have expected. I think the charts were very up and down for most of the season. These charts were probably the most up and down for the season. But I'm not surprised by where these charts ended. If you look at the previous charts had JJK, Preserver, not Preserver Glutton, but like JJK, you had Ember in the Shadows. You had the couple ones that stayed there. You had Furious Beyond Journey's End. You had um, a little bit of everything in the charts. But now I think with the charts really solidifying, I think these charts have finally gotten to its peak, and it's gonna be interesting to see what the last chart will be, because the last chart is in next week. Will be the last chart. I'm gonna run this down first, and then whenever Chris gets back, we'll talk through it. So it's the Ember in the Shadow season 2, Fears Beyond Journey's End at 2, JJK at 3, the Apothecary Diaries at 4, 100 Girlfriends at 5. They moved up 2 spots. Apothecary Diaries moved up 1 spot. Crimson dropped 2 spots to 6. The Vexens of a Shut-In Vampire Princess moved up 2 spots. Doctor Stone New World Part 2 went up 2 spots or 3 spots. Deadmount Death Play went up. Deadmount Death Play Part 2 went up 11 spots, and Dark Gathering went up 9 spots. But also, let me go to the full chart, because there's actually, I want to see where everything else landed. I can pull it up real quick. So if you look at the full chart, we have the full chart at 11, Spy in the Family, 12, 12
Still
Shankar
did pretty
Law,
good.
13 Undead Unlucky, 14 Girlfriend, and then 15 Goblin Slayer, and 15 is Goblin Slayer. So that's the top 15. Chris, I was running down the charts, and what did you think about these anime charts? Because the biggest mover was Deadmau Deathplay, moved up 11 spots. But also Girlfriend staying up the top there, and a couple other things.
As far as I know, man, so everything on the chart was so I shouldn't say surprising because Dr. Stone is still number 8. So
Yeah.
yeah, still the most consistent. As far as all the other shows, man, it's just more of the same. We've been getting the shows that move up and move down. I think this season really showed us what the next 2 seasons are going to be about. This is a whole bunch of jumping.
You say what the next 2 seasons going to be about. Elaborate on that more for me, because I'm thinking you're saying we're going to have a bunch of bouncing back and forth, charts going up and down, but also these next 2 seasons, the winter season is pretty heavy already. Spring season is going to be insane. Are you basically telling me that we're going to get a bunch of jumping back and forth every week to the point where you don't know what's going to say and where?
Exactly.
Okay.
And furthermore, there are still plenty of shows that they haven't announced yet.
Yes, they haven't. That is correct. They haven't announced a lot of things. There's still a lot of things on the docket for the winter and even for spring, because spring's still getting stuff announced from Jump Fest, and things are getting announced after Jump Fest too. So, are you surprised that Deadmount Deathplay jumped to 9? Because
Not at all.
oddly enough, because I think it's interesting. The last time it was in the top 10, it jumped to 10, if I remember correctly. This time it jumped 11 spots. And it was weird because it jumped 11 spots to 9. It was in 19. Is that because this last episode, the prior episode, not the current episode we're about to watch tonight, was really good and really gave you a lot of story is just because people are like, what is this show all about? Or is that just a mix of things? Because it feels like it's a mix of things, but at the same time, people haven't really been keeping up with Death Death Play. But every few times we've had like this giant episode of things happening, people have kind of like, oh, okay, you know, this is good. I need to watch this because I think that's kind of insane to think about. Knowing the fact too, Spy on the Family and Shangri-La is at 12. They could have gone to the top 10. Girlfriend moved up to 14. And that last episode of this season, this past episode was really good. Like, I don't know what's next for this chart. Like, I can't wait to the final chart where they do like who was like the best anime for the whole fall season. And do you think JJK's kind of lost its luster? By the way,
No, not at all. JJK is still going strong.
okay. I would agree, but I also think there's gonna be one thing in this episode we're gonna look at tonight. By the way, get up JJK episode 45 whenever we get a chance. We'll get that to that at or 47, excuse me, 45, 47. We'll get that to that in a second. I think it's partially lost its luster because I don't think it's kept people's attention as much as it used to. I think with this season being heavily fights, and I don't hate a good fight. But I also think story hasn't really been there, and there's one bugbear with this episode, I think, or 46, excuse me. One bugbear with episode 46, I think, really kind of tells you that, but I don't blame them for doing it. But we'll get into it. On that note, speaking of the winter season, since we are getting to that point, Chris, give me three. Give me three animes that people should look out for in the winter season. So they have to be new or they can be new or continuing, or they can just be something off the wall. Because I think that's gonna be the biggest thing for this. Like we've seen a lot of heavy hitters, but not everything's heavy hitters here. A lot of them are back and forth. A lot of them have story. A lot of them have good action, but a lot of them are very, different. I'm really looking forward to seeing what the winter season has. But at the same time, I'm also like, if we're gonna get a lot of more different things. I don't know if you heard the question, Chris. I was asking. Give
Yes,
me
I did hear the question. So I
okay.
think at 3, I'm thinking of Kaiju 8 because that I've been so in
Solo
solo
level.
level,
Okay, that was the two I
and
thought of.
then the continuation of Shangri-La.
Okay, yeah. I think I have to agree with you. Solo level. Hydro 8 looks fun, and yeah,
I got
Shangri-La.
him, off.
I think Shangri-La. I think Shangri-La is going to be one of those ones next season where if you haven't watched this first part of the season, I think people are going to start watching it now. Because you'll have JJK gone, a couple other things on, and that will be in the top 10 consistently. But I also think if Solo Level does well enough, Solo Level is going to be one of those top 5 every week. Because I think that's just been marketing, hype, all that kind of stuff. I actually have to put Journey's End in there too. I think Journey's End's continuing. I think that will keep that afloat for a bit. I think it's gonna be interesting because I don't know what they're gonna do next with a lot of stuff. Because this is probably the first season in a long time where we haven't got a lot of isekais and stuff. This season probably was not many isekais, a lot more action, a lot more storytelling stuff. So we'll see how that goes. But I do hope you have up JJK episode 46 there once you have it up. I will say Three, two, one, and then we'll get going. Chris, you ready?
Give me 2 minutes.
Yep, no worries. I, I will say this: the only bugbear with this episode is right at the beginning, like not right at the beginning, close to the beginning. It is with a character we haven't seen in a while. And I think they do a good explanation for it, but I think it's a cheap way to give the character an out. But we'll get to it in the episode and in the review. Outside the episode is
Yep.
flawless. It is very flawless. It's not bad at all. And then there's there's a couple major fights in here, and a lot of characters come back, so you get a lot of cameos additionally. Even cameos you didn't expect to come back.
That's true.
But
I
at the same,
am ready.
okay. So in three, two, one, let's go. So we pretty much end off where they have fought, leveled the city, and Mojito is basically on his last leg, laying in front of Imposter Ghetto, showing all the destruction.
Yep.
I love the fact they do show all the destruction. They don't like cheat that out, even though you don't really have to. By the way, why, if he was under that rubble, he should have been dead.
Now, like he had his sword laying across of him.
Oh, so it would brace the rocks and stuff. Okay,
Yeah.
that's what I thought, but it looked kind of odd because it was laying long ways and not at the angle. I'm kind of interested in that line. He says, "I'm in favor of Itadori's execution." Was he always in favor, or was in favor of it now? That's the thing I didn't get there.
I think he was always in favor because if you remember in the beginning, that's how it was.
Okay.
Like he had the whole option, to kind of like turn away.
What were you expecting? Never mind. I'm not gonna say that. I'm not gonna say that. This is the part I think doesn't give you like you and Mei like it gives them closure, but it feels odd.
I was really hoping to see her fight.
Yeah, so was I.
Yep.
I think they should have showed a little bit of fight. I get why you didn't, and I also get you don't want to kill her off because you kill her off, I think fans would be pissed if it's within the story that she's killed off, but if it's not yet supposed to happen. We don't know who she's even talking to, by the way. We still need to figure that out.
We sure don't.
They should have told us. They should have gave us a hint, but they didn't give us a hint with that.
No, yeah, they did.
They did?
They did.
Huh. Okay. I'll see. Well, I'll ask you that when we get talked about it at the end. He's asking you, Joey, what are you?
Fair question.
But it's funny. So he kind of figures each story is not human. Well, not a normal
No.
not a normal
Yeah.
human in a sense like
Right.
he can't do curse. He had to learn how to use curse energy, all that kind of stuff. But it's like he's picked up on it so well.
just to get portrayed by this dude.
Yep. That was a cool illusion. I like how they did that. So basically, he has Mahito's ability, but he can just send out cursed spirits whenever he wants.
Yeah, because he has Ghetto's ability.
Ghetto's ability. So
Yep.
basically, he can use Ghetto's ability where he can just consume cursed spirits and use them whenever he wants, and he never has to worry about losing. He has not have any at all.
Right, because he basically has an infinite supply.
Correct. By this point, Ichidori should be dead.
Man, so far all of these characters ought to be dead.
Ichidori should be the most dead because he's been beaten up a couple times. Like I get
Yeah.
why he survived a couple things from friends and things, but like this is surprising. And he just sucks him up like nothing. I mean, that's a cool ability to have. I wouldn't mind it.
Like it doesn't look any creepy.
It does look creepy though. It does look creepy when you're just getting your soul pulled into like an orb, and that orb is just your power. A discussion of the world to come.
That was a nice opening. Nice
Yes, it
opening to the
was.
to the show. Kind of
Yes, it
kind of get
was.
back to where it's at.
I I do like the fact you did show off Meme. I just think it's kind of like it it gives it doesn't feel like it needed to be there. If you're gonna do it, I think you should have shown off the fight first. Shown off the fight and then actually then had that scene if you really wanted to have it.
They've done multiple episodes like that though.
Yes, they have. They have. But I think when Panda finds his guy who's hanging out with, that makes sense because Panda's trying to find a dude because he knew what happened with all the rubble and stuff. But he just jarringly cut to Mei just in this hotel room with Yu, and he's just like, Yu's like, oh, I get to lay with Mei, and then it's like, wait, she got a phone call. Never mind. They kind of tease it, but they don't. They just let it be.
Exactly.
When he explains this, basically when he shows the volcano dude, so he had his superior art was fire, right?
Yeah, that volcano dude.
Yeah, so that's what they're getting at. Like they have mastered the art of like fire, or I don't know what the other two brothers from the bloodbending dude mastered, but like he's kind of mentioning that now. By the way, why are you letting him talk and hold that? I would have ran after him.
I mean, but if you don't have a plan to fight him once you get up to him,
That's true. You don't have a plan. That's right. Let's see. Oh, he saw the witch girl.
looking right at her.
Yep. I also think this is weird. Why do they come back? Because they were leaving the city at the time last time we saw them.
Right, like, or maybe we got it confused and they were heading back towards the city or
The
to another
city,
area of the city.
yeah, which could have happened. It's weird though because it doesn't feel like this is well explained. Because um, Mekamaru says if y'all would have gone back, y'all will die, which is kind of a way to. And just breaks that sword in half.
That wasn't even cool.
No, I will say this gives you the stuff of nightmares where what he just makes out of nothing. Amalgamation of spirits. Wow, did you just tell the girl? Did you just say the girl had no knowledge?
Well, now he said with a bit of knowledge.
Oh, with a bit of knowledge.
Got tired of people checking on you. I
I
know.
don't really get his. I kind of get it.
Well, this is the drama part of the whole scene, right, of the whole show, right here.
Yeah, I have three parents. Mother, the cursed spirit that impregnated my mother, the mix of what in the affair. Yeah, they're teasing the death wound. They're teasing the death wound paintings. I mean, if you can take your soul and move to other bodies over time, you can live forever. That's the point.
She went, I think, in the garage or somewhere back that way. Basement.
Never. I'm not going to ask that question. I was going to ask how do you get cursed by how do you get impregnated by a cursed spirit? Oh, he thought he killed Ichidori. He thought he killed Ichidori, and that really spiraled him off. This is one of the crazier fights in this game in this episode.
Yeah, in this episode, not definitely not this season, but the
Not
episode.
this season. This episode, this one crazy fights. This season, it doesn't even compare. Like the season, there's so many more different ones. Ghetto's counting every attack you've done so far.
And then some.
Correct. Whoa. I will say this is the only. I think this is the only fight this season we've got true hand-to-hand combat.
No.
It isn't. Well, one of the few
Mm.
that's been true. One of the few that's been like true to hand-to-hand combat.
Well, no. In his first fight with Itadori, they were both going
Oh
hand in
yeah, they were
hand.
doing hand-to-hand. Oh yeah, that was actually a better fight because they were in the bathroom. Right, it was like the sprinkler came on, all that kind of stuff. The atmosphere.
Exactly.
You're right. You're right. Reverse healing.
I think that's what's made this anime season, or especially for this show, like really unique because you it's one of those ones where you didn't see the hero win every time. You definitely saw
Correct.
him lose, and like, he
You did.
stayed
You definitely.
loose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why are you asking what kind of
Hmm.
women he's into randomly?
Exactly. So,
So
Brandon, I was
that.
answering my uncle's question. He was asking, since he was first coming on to the show, he was asking what was the show about. So
So
that was the way I said it.
so this show is basically for people who are just listening to the podcast or kind of getting into it, kind of finding us. This show is basically about high schoolers that have high school sorcerers who have special abilities. Each one can do different things. Gojo is one of the top sorcerers. At birth, he could do a little bit of everything. This man was so powerful, even curses hated him. His best friend Ghetto, spirit manipulation, all that kind of stuff. Up to this point now, you're seeing what has corrupted Ghetto because Ghetto got corrupted by the girl that saved everybody. We just saw at the end, and the fact that he wanted to rid the world of spirit, cursed energy by making everybody sorcerers or killing the ones that were not sorcerers. And now we're in this war to figure out what that's going to be about. That's the basic premise. Outside of that, there are small things that kind of um, change that premise. I don't can make balance out that premise a little bit. But I will have to say, this episodes are good. So we'll kind of run through this a little bit. This starts off with Panda trying to find um, uh, the coat dude, and he does find him under a couple months of rubble. The coat dude mentions that he, you know, you're gonna probably hate this Panda, but I was in favor of killing Ichidori, executing Ichidori. And Panda's kind of like, huh, okay, odd. But I can see why he didn't think Ichidori could handle this. Um, then we get the thing with Mei and uh, EU are in the hotel room. They're you know you can tell Mei was kind of hurt because she has a little bandage on her forehead, so she wasn't a fight. And this fight was simply, or this scene is basically just kind of explaining why they had left, and they're about to lay there, fall asleep together, but then um, she get a phone call from somebody, and the phone call basically explains that she explains to the person on the other side of the phone that, yeah, you need to sell our stock in Tokyo. You need to get out of the city, do this, that, and the other. I've already left, so I don't need to stick around anymore. Um, I didn't want to stick around. I was already planning on leaving anyway. Um, it's an interesting like way they give her an out. I think the out's fine, but I think me and Chris will agree. I think we wish we saw a little bit of the fight. Not a lot, a little bit. Um, but we'll come back to something in a minute as I'm going through this that Chris had mentioned about who's on the other side of that phone. So then a we get the Ghetto talking. We get the opening sting. Then Ghetto's talking to Mojito, and Mojito and Ghetto are looking at Ichidori. Ichidori is kind of like he has to do something, but he doesn't know what to do. So he kind of runs after Imposter Ghetto, and Mojito gets sucked up by Ghetto. At the same time this is happening, we see um, the bun bending dude, Chozo, kind of out of it, kind of not really focused on what he's need to be doing. He leaves the scene. He wonder why Ichidori the way he is. Who is Ichidori? And this is actually kind of interesting because he doesn't really know much about Ichidori. He don't think Ichidori is normal by any stretch of the imagination. Um, but ultimately he figures out what's going on. He gets to the fight. As that's happening, though, before he even gets to the fight proper, we have a talk between Ichidori and Pastorgetto. And this is after Pastorgetto takes the spear, or takes Mojito, makes him that spear, get his power, all that kind of stuff. I, I have to say, I like the fact this talk, this was a long talk. Basically, this talk was, do you know about superior arts? There we go. Basically, you are strong in one form of your cursed energy. So the volcano dude, one of the other brothers of the bloodbending dude, Chozo, I think he's considered in that realm. And once you gain that superior art, you've gotten to the point where you're really strong and really interesting. I'm gonna stop right there. Chris, what do you think about this first half?
So this first half was I'm not gonna say it's as wild as the second half, but just some of the things that unfolded and story wise was like, okay, where are y'all trying to take this story? So at
Yeah,
that point, it's you had to kind of look at it from a different angle. Like Itadori is not our main protagonist. I think in this one of these shows we have two protagonists.
he is not the main protagonist, and I'm wondering how they're gonna play off that because up to this point, he's been the main person. He's been in all these fights. He's been doing all these things. And who do you think the main protagonist is now?
Well, I have a question for both you and my uncle.
Okay.
So with that being said, can at what point can a person change their mind from being evil to good? Because I feel like that's what's gonna happen to Itadori. Like like how quick that just like okay, because Itadori he's been fighting a losing battle this entire series.
Correct.
So can you really sacrifice a good story for character development? I guess that's my real question.
Yes, you can. And you can do it in a way that makes sense to the story. And they do technically have the ace up their sleeve, which with Sukuna. I don't think Sukuna is going to come out again anytime this season, ultimately. But I think what you could do, each story loses here. He gets more desperate. He wants to get better and stronger. I can see him learning from his brother in a sense with the blunt bending dude Chozo, and getting more of his power, getting more use of his power. But that'd be kind of odd if you do it that way. But it will work. I think it will work. It's not something they can do. It's not something crazy outside the realm of possibility. So then we roll into the second half of this episode. The second half of this. So after the conversation with Ichidori and the Ghetto, bloodbending dude pops up. Bloodbending dude pops up, but before dude pops up, you see Ghetto Ghetto sees somebody in the sky. Don't know who it is, but he looks up and he sees, oh, it's the witch girl. Witch girl gives a signal to Panda and the guy who can shoot arrows. He shoots a couple arrows, tries to get Ghetto out of his comfort zone. Doesn't really work. Ghetto already has an idea what to do. The girl with the sword, this was actually kind of interesting. She talks about, I picked up a sword, a bamboo sword when I was young. I liked playing basketball, but I dyed my hair black because it's more natural, all that kind of stuff. And eventually, what she says, she goes, I would rather not, I would rather swing a sword one more time. And if I died doing it, I did it for the right reasons. So she does basically quick draw, which is like a pull the sword out, swing it real quick. And when she does that, Ghetto just catches it and breaks it. Not even with no problem. Then um, Ghetto basically gets another quick draw move from the actual good sorcerer. He even says somebody with a little more intelligence, and he was surprised by it. And then basically, Bloodbending Dude comes out there and says, "Wait, you're this dude," and they're like, "Who? What? What are you talking about?" And the lady mentions this dude is in these. This family was the worst sorcerers in the country, in worst sorcerer in history, and they've been around. The guy they talk about has been around for 150 years, moving his body or his soul around to different bodies. And then Ghetto even mentions this is not his first body. Like this soul was not his first body. This kind of leads into the last little thing we get here. So everybody starts fighting. Everybody kind of gets their thing, and Bloodbending Dude and Ghetto have this long, drawn out fight. Basically, the fight was kind of interesting. The bloodbending stuff looked cool, very well done. The fight was really interesting. Kind of a nothing, not a bad fight, but it's not like the best fights this season. But I think the only other thing I would have said to this too is that what do you kind of change with that? But then we get a couple answers. Then we get a couple things. So then the bodyguard that's helping Ghetto out, the girl, uses her ice powers. She's like, oh, she's a high level sorcerer with ice powers. She also can do reverse curse technique. Kind of odd. Then they get frozen. Itadori breaks out. Itadori fights back, but Itadori's about to get hurt again. So guess who shows up? The girl we saw from the first part of season 2. And she was talking to Ghetto. Ghetto even says her by name, and she asked him, "So, what kind of girls are you into?" And then she kind of just like gives a look, like kiss from the lips, a heart kind of thing. It it's surprising when she's came back because she's not been in. She's always been kind of like she never really trusted the jiu-jitsu way. She never really trusted Jujutsu High. She did things on her own. She was kind of just a loner. But now she's like, I need help, y'all, and just kind of get things back in balance. She didn't think expect it to go this bad. So, Chris, what did you think with this back half kind of thing? This back half was kind of mostly fight, couple story things. The big story thing here was Bloodbending Dude saying, I was born from a mother, but I also got born from a cursed spirit. The cursed spirit has been around for a long time, and this cursed spirit's been around so long to the point where he's done me. I know who you are, and I'm gonna get rid of you. Um, what did you think about the ending? That last little bit there, the back half, basically from the fight until the ending.
So man, this back half fight was off the chain, bro. Like you see, like from the moment Ghetto kind of like unloads his history lesson into the old dude mind just goes like straight berserk.
Yeah, he
Like
kind of goes out of it. He gets out of it a little bit.
I mean, but think about it. Like, the person that's been standing next to you is the one that killed your family. You would be pretty mad too.
Yeah, you would be. You would be.
I
Okay,
mean,
so
I'm
I'm gonna.
sure it's a lot of people in jail for that right now.
Yeah, that's also true. I'm gonna flip the question you gave to me. I'm gonna flip on its head. Do you think Bloodbending Dude is gonna go good for the
No.
last episode for them? Okay.
Well, it depends on how you define good.
I when I say good, I'm not saying he's going to be a good guy. I think he's going to help the good guys out just because he wants to help Itadori, and then he'll just leave. That's what I mean by good. Like he doesn't really stay around long. He just kind of helps the good guys and leaves because he has no bearing. The only thing he wants to do is beat Imposter Ghetto. Um, and then you had a theory. What was your theory about the phone call with Mei Mei on the other side of the phone? Who do you think that was?
I think it's the blonde haired girl who comes and saves him at the end.
Oh,
Hmm.
that could actually make sense.
Yep.
That could, yeah, that could actually
Because
make sense.
because remember she was on the train with everybody, and then you notice how everybody's back.
Yes, everybody's back.
Yep,
So did Mei Mei tip them off to what was going to happen?
I think so.
But he thought she's also telling Mei Mei's telling her, you might just want to get out. Don't stick around.
True.
But they couldn't. They didn't want to leave. Okay. All right. All right. Hmm. Okay. I'm about to ask for the rating, but before I ask for the rating, do you think with all the characters we've seen now, everybody's came back officially? Do you think we get an appearance from Sukuna in the last episode?
Say that again.
Do you think we get an appearance from Sukuna in the last episode?
No. I can. Okay, if we I don't think we get an appearance, but I can imagine us getting a dialogue.
Okay, dialogue. Okay. That's kind of dialogue appearance. That's what I was kind of thinking. I was wondering because everybody else has shown up, and I think Sukuna has shown up in the last episode, but he's hadn't shown up in anything else since then. So I'm just wondering if that's going to be a thing. But what would you rate JJK episode 46 Metamorphosis Part 2?
I would give this episode a solid 9.2. The
It's
episode
one.
was good all the way around. I mean, there's a few things I feel like you just automatically just tell us that Itadori is related to this dude. I was like, okay. And then Ghetto all of a sudden looks invincible, but he had a fight with Mei Mei, who's no longer there. See, there are a lot of things and a lot of things that's kind of messed up and not being said. Therefore, 9.2.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree, and it's weird what I'm about to say. I'm gonna give this an 8.2, so 2 points off. And I'm gonna give my explanation in a second, but get up Dead Mount Death Play episode 24 as we're toughing up the discussion. The only reason I'm giving 8.2, there's two big things. One, Ghetto giving the long diatribe with to Ichidori and the bloodbending dude. That leads in something later. They're teasing that we're not going to see later down the road, which is fine. I'm cool with that. I think the one that really just kind of doesn't work for me is the Mei Mei thing. The Mei Mei thing doesn't work because if you're literally telling me we see her and Ghetto face off in one episode, at the end of the episode, but we don't get to see the fight. I'm fine not seeing the fight, but at least tell us, at least give us a reason why. Because they even mention the fact, I think Mei, she says it in the she says it on the phone call. She goes, use it you used his technique, his like switching bodies technique. So like if that's the case, then do they just use the switching technique and then leave? And then Ghetto got confused? We don't know.
Good
I
night.
I I think that's the only bugbear, but ultimately this episode was good. I don't think it was terrible. I think if you're gonna tease us for season 3, fine, keep us teased. I'm cool with that. You're teasing things that are gonna be super down the road too, not things I think we're gonna get right away in season 3. Um, but ultimately, good fight, good storytelling. That's one thing I'll have to give JDK credit for. You have done more storytelling overall these past couple episodes, and not just fight, fight. Like, it's not just a bunch of fights with nothing to back them up. There's been fights, but the storytelling has backed up those fights. So now let's get into the last episode of Dead Mount Death Play, episode 24. This episode, ladies and gentlemen, was something crazy. And here's the funny part. This episode ties back every single thing we have seen throughout this season. And when we do the review, I'll point them out because a lot of them are very small things, but they are there. And it's really well done. But ultimately, if you haven't watched Dead Mount Death Play, go watch it. It's worth that. Like we and Chris talked about in the charts, it got to number 10, it got to number 9. It went up 11 spots. The last episode was a lot of fighting. This episode's a lot of fighting, but this episode's also very good fights, but also fun story stuff too. It's worth that. I hope we get announcements for season 3 soonish, but I don't know how soon that will be. It could be down the road, it could be earlier, later, whatever that will be. But in a minute, in a couple minutes, I will say 3, 2, 1, and then we'll get going. Chris, you ready?
Yep, I'm ready.
All right. In 3, 2, 1, let's go. We do get to see a little bit of Pokey's past too, so it's actually been really well. They did this very well.
Let me know when you get to 59 seconds.
Okay. So we kind of see this like mermaid thing kind of talk to the corpse god Pokey and talk about some, he's not gonna allow him to do something, so she ends up taking him in to the dark world.
What's
I'm
your
at 59
timestamp?
seconds. 59 seconds.
Yeah.
Yep. Testimony from a shadow under the national controls make poor defense. Did you really kill yourself if somebody else is sick? That's a powerful line. I will say that's very tame for the beginning. It's about to get really crazy after this opening. Still one of the best songs in the anime season.
Oh, so he did smile at the end. He does smile at the end, though.
He does smile, yeah. So we're back at the fight between I think it's her name's Control, or I think something like the Chain, something like that, and Pokey.
He's like an adopted something from somebody
Yeah,
else.
it's like I'm gonna possess you now.
See, I knew there was a link between him.
Yes, there was. You called it. You did call that one.
Oh,
Why are you feeling this way? Because you care. This is the one time where I have to give him credit because they gave the tech dude the hey, do what you need to do, but don't worry about us. Like we're gonna help you. It's that's insane. They give him that. Oh yeah, here's a giant dragon and a giant snake.
oh.
A
Let's see
couple
you try to
giant.
recreate this thing.
Yep. Yeah, everybody's not dead. Oh, Pokey's crew. Oh, that's her crew.
Mm-hmm. Just like he called his friends to do the dirty work.
Yep.
Yep. Uh-oh.
Imperial Majesty. Imperial Majesty.
Game over. Oh, and he got multi backup.
Yeah, he got more friends. Everybody came.
He definitely did. Ah, bro, you screwed.
Oh, yep, he dead.
You're royally screwed.
Do you remember her?
No.
I think she. I think she's from the first couple episodes. She's one of the burn victims. Yeah, she's from the house. That's what I thought. This part's kind of funny. I love how what he does here. That's the line. He gives up his own. He'll give up his own life to see what to make sure this world stays safe.
Say that again?
So the blonde haired cop would give up his own life to make sure the world's protected and become a fire starter.
I definitely missed that scene real quick. I was trying to help my mom out.
Oh, no worries. It was a
But
quick
then
thing because they were
spam
just
pops.
talking. Yep.
You're like, for real, what gave it away?
Oh, all the bats? Yeah, that would have gave it away. And the fang teeth, and yeah,
The red eyes, possibly.
yeah. By the way,
Right, so,
so Lemmings did come back. I was like, so last episode I was right. You see Lemon's hand get
yep.
punched. punch through. Wait, you're asking how he's not freaked out by the form you just took? Yeah, he's a drag.
Yeah,
He's a dragon arm now.
right.
Does he care? Oh, we get to
Oh,
see it. We finally get to see him use it. Ooh, he threw it in a building. So he finally gets it.
yep.
After all that time, he finally gets it. Nope, that's not who. So
Ooh,
the element just transferred worlds.
yeah. That's the tea. I just put some lemonade in there. Half and half.
And they made a pact. The matriarch and the sister. I'll let Zion choose his path. Huh.
Not yet.
She sacrificed herself to help Pokey. Excuse me. Yep, I'm gonna just knock you out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wait, did he actually hold back? I don't think he did. He got marks on his face.
Is what if he did?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Depends on you.
Brandon, what did we watch?
I don't even know. What?
No visible injuries.
Why would she shoot him? That doesn't make sense. Oh, okay. That's why no visible. That
So they
was.
left it open ended for season 3. Okay.
Yes, they did. So basically, you could do one of two routes. You could do the route where he gets shot and then something happens with all that, or you could do the route where he doesn't. They take the shot, but he misses. The entity that he controls can block the shot.
Exactly.
Like Chris, that's what we just watched. We watched maybe one of the best season finales I've seen in a long time. Because literally they tie up every
Everything.
loose end to a
Detail.
T,
Yep.
and it doesn't even feel like it needed to be that tight. Like It literally could have been, oh, you could just show us a couple screenshots. No, you literally tie up every loose end. So we'll go through this. We're gonna go through this fully because it needs it. So we start out with the Poke's world. In Poke's world, you see the magistrate in his spirit form. So I'm guessing he's already dead at this point. And he kind of talks about the fact, you know, we know you're the corpse god. We know you've done all these things, but yet you never wanted to help. You never really. We're not gonna let you die, but you need to figure out something. But then we see the corpse god talking to this lady, mermaid lady thing, and this mermaid lady thing basically pulls him into this dark place, and then from there he becomes the corpse god. He becomes what he is now, and from that point on, the 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 Majesty says, why did you kill yourself to save somebody else?" And that's right before we get the intro sequence. And then we get the intro sequence, and then we start off with, I will have to say, it's this we continue this fight, and this fight is so much fun. And that's the point I'm gonna stop. Chris, what do you think about this first part? So the part we get before the credits roll up to the fight, up through the fight for a bit, and then we get to Tech Dude. I'm gonna do Tech Dude by himself.
Okay, so this fight was like I was in the beginning. I was still trying to figure out what was going on. Then I realized and then when the tech dude had stepped in, it was like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
that's what's going on. And then you see all the flashes on his computer, and then that's where I said, yep, I did make that connection. Yep.
So then we get to Tech Dude, and Tech Dude basically is like, "Do I don't. Why do I feel like I? Why do I feel this in my heart? Why do I feel like I need to help him?" And then they, like you say, they flash up the fact that Tech Dude and the guy that was working with Solitaire for a bit the last couple episodes are connected. So he's been in this problem before. So then Tech Dude's like, you know what? I have to do something. So he starts typing on the computer and then hacks into, I think, a speaker system basically for the city, and basically gives this speech of like, "What are you doing, Pokey? You have me. You have Mik- you have Mikasa. You have all these people that can help you, and yet you're trying to do this alone. And yet you're trying to do this with all the deal of power. You don't want us to get hurt. Hold on a second. We are your friends. We care about you. I am not going to let you do this without our help. Without you want peace, we're going to be alongside to help you get that peace, no matter what it costs." And then Tech Two starts typing again, and Tech Two presses on the button, blacks out the city. And I love the detail here because you didn't have to do it, but you did it in a way that makes sense. He blacks out the city. Who's the first person you see after the blackout happens? The reporter. Reporter's like, "A blackout? What the? Okay." Kind of out there, kind of scared. And he says, "I blacked out the city. Go ham. Nobody's going to see a thing. Do what you have to do. But I'll be here to help you." And so, Chris, what do you think about this stuff with Tech Two? Because Tech Two gets the basically the hero speech of the episode. He basically gets like, he's the one that makes Pokey get out of his funk, even though Pokey wasn't in a funk. He was trying to do it without much of a care in the world, and he made sure not to over. He at this point he's always been doing it with his friend without trying to get his friend involved. But Tech Dude's pretty much like, you need to have us involved because we want to help you. Um. So yeah, Chris, what do you think about this little section here?
Can you hear me now?
I can.
Okay. Basically, so he told Pokey everything he needed to hear. He got Pokey out of the funk that like there are a lot of people who are in a funk and don't know they're in a funk, and that's exactly what Tech Dude did for Pokey.
That's true. Do you think giving Tech Dude that is interesting because Tech Dude hasn't said much at all through most of the episodes, and a few times he has said things like he says, "I was scared at you." He says, "I'm scared at you." At one point, I was gonna leave Dodge. Basically, I was gonna leave the city. I wasn't gonna stick around, but then I ended up sticking around because we became close friends between you, the plush, everybody. So you think giving Tech Dude that dialogue is like, okay, he's learned how to respect Pokey and also help the dude out.
What I don't think he ever didn't like Pokey or nothing. I think maybe he didn't know what to think of Pokey in the beginning until because
Mm,
remember he also said that he would go to Pokey if he ever was like in a life and death situation.
correct. He did say
So
that.
so
That's correct.
so, so I mean there are hints and shows that that he is that that he means what he says. But it's like man,
So yeah, he went kind of hard because I was surprised when he says when he says a hole. I'm like, it's the first time this show's cursed. I'm like, wow, that's kind of shocking.
really
And
was
it's
that the
weird.
first conspiracy?
That's the first, like, I think that's the first one that's actually really been impactful. I think it's been a couple other ones. There's been a couple other ones sprinkled out through I think one or two other episodes had them, but they really didn't mean much. This is one of the first actually ones that meant something, and it actually was like, why you just, it kind of gave you the reason why he's going saying all this. Um, then we kind of get to Mikasa. So Mikasa is still fighting against the um girl trying to get Pokey back. Then Pokey, we see Pokey kind of still talking to, um, or still listening to the tech dude. Tech dude also explains, "Hey, I got everything down. Now it's just on you. But here's the thing: if you need anything else, let me know." Kind of thing. So then the other dude who has all the power, she goes, "You know what? I'm gonna. I don't know what Pokey's about to do here. You don't have enough power. You have a useful potential, and yet you're still trying to protect this world. Why? What's the purpose?" And then Pokey uses all these jewels that he got in his hand on both his hands, breaks them, and now he has this big circle that pops up. And she was kind of surprised by that. Then the next thing we kind of see the girl go after Pokey's old history, and then we get to the part where she makes the circle and starts off the actual fight. Um, Chris, what do you think about the fact that one, Pokey had the jewels, he understand what he needed to do with them. He was prepared for what was coming up next, but also at the same time, Tech Dude's still kind of giving him encouragement throughout this part and kind of telling him, hey, you got this. We're behind you. They can handle what they need to handle. Do what you need to do. But at the same time, the other dude is like, hey, I don't need I I know what you're gonna do, so I'm not worried about it. I can beat you anyway. Because I think he got more cocky throughout this episode, and then once his cockiness fell off, you can tell that he got kind of scared at the last half of this episode. But this is where he got kind of cocky, kind of thinking, "Oh yeah, I'm just gonna win this easily. I have no problem winning this." Um, it was I don't know. It's kind of like that's what he kind of got from the first part of this episode. Um, but what do you think about this little section here?
So in this little section, it was a lot being said in this little section because this is the fight scene that they're fighting, right?
Yes, this is where you see the full fight. This is the
Right.
include where the fight scene, Tech Dude, Mikasa, all that's kind of going into this now, like breaking into
Okay.
each other.
So the one thing that kept working my nerves is like Pokey. I understand that you are a very talented sorcerer, but the fact that this dude is learning everything that you throw at him, you don't go and throw another 5 or 6 teachers at him.
That is true. That is true. That is true. We'll get to that because that does pop up later. But
Exactly.
also, but at the same time, I think Pokey even says before the fight starts, before the fight really gets underway, he says, "I don't need to be a villain. I can just be myself." And he kind of his demeanor changes throughout the rest of his fight, which is actually really interesting. So we kind
Yeah,
of get
because he
that.
realized he realized his emotional tolls, and he's like, you know what?
Correct.
I got people that handle this for me.
Correct. So then we find out the girl mentions, hey, we've already killed people. We've already done things. We've already messed up. There's nothing you can do now. There's people. All these people are dead. And Pokey says, you're actually wrong about that. And he says, oh, all these people are basically dead. They're corpses. In the sense that they're shadows. And he says they're in a temple right now. Everybody's safe. And he's like, wait, what? And then all these corpses come from up, can stand up and start walking around. And he was just like, okay, all right, this is kind of getting creepy. So
Man, it
then
was
we,
like what Walking Dead, literally.
yeah, it was Walking Dead levels of like, okay, so there's about 60 people here that are all just corpses, shadow looking things, and they can go after that dude. Okay, fair enough.
And that's what I'm telling. Like, Pokey, you don't summon another 4 or 5 people to teach this dude his spells.
Nope, you summon thousands.
Right.
Um, so then we see the girl throw an attack at Pokey, but also we cut to the father. The father loses the feed of what's going on, but he's talking to the bodyguard, um, the male bodyguard. And Moira says, I'm sorry, I can't get closer. There's a sniper on me. And actually, this is a really cool reveal. It's the two snipers that don't like Lisa. It's the two snipers Lisa hired, and the one girl says Lisa's kind of a. Actually, they do use the B word in one of the episodes. She says that to Lisa, not to Lisa, but to her crew. So yeah, that actually makes sense. So then they're holding that dude down. Lisa is talking, noticing that's going on, so everything's still there. And then the guy sorcerer is basically like, you keep doing this, but I have you cornered. We have nothing to lose. I have nothing to lose right now. And then it was funny because Pokey's like, I still have some things under my sleeve. I'm not lost yet. But then they cut back to him being dead. When he's dead and he's seeing everything that's happened in his previous world. Then you see this circle pop up of these purple things come together. He makes this spell, and then once this spell happens, you see this glowing gold light. This light is basically he summoned the Majesty and a couple other people. When the Majesty comes out, you see the guy go, wait, that's the magistrate, the one who died in the previous empire. What is she doing here? And it's funny because he's like, he knows who she is and doesn't know what's going on. So the magic comes out and Toki says, I'm sorry I didn't call you earlier. I apologize. But then Pokey has more friends, two bug sorcerers, the lady we've seen before that has the spirit over her head, and two other people. And then now it's a true fight between all Pokey's friends and this dude. And this fight kind of commences. They kind of talk, but then once they talk over, the lady leaves because she needs to deal with something else. And Pokey's like, "Go ahead and deal with that." And then you see the fight kind of get ready to ramp back up again. And then I'm gonna pause right here before we get to Solitaire section because Solitaire does some interesting things on the back half of his stuff. Um, Chris, what do you think about from the time we get the fight kind of going, and then Pokey summons the rest of the people from the land and everything, and then he says, "I'm sorry, I should have summoned you earlier." All this stuff. What do you think about that section? Because he kind of feels he didn't do it faster.
Well, that was kind of like a precursor to what he was saying earlier. Earlier in the film, like when the prince or king first appeared, like like when you get to this point, bro, like you can't let anger, like you can't be the one that go evil. Like that's what
Correct.
let us do all your dirty work.
Correct. Correct. So then Solitaire is on the scene. Solitaire basically is talking to one of the Firestarter people and asking what's going on. He sees this girl in spirit form. This girl, it's a weird thing because most people forget about this. This girl is from when Pokey and Mikasa went to the house and met with the grandfather and the father in that house scene in like season one.
Exactly.
And she's also the girl that got burned from that firebug attack. And it's funny because he shows her um uh she shows Solitaire the burn and shows Solitaire what's happened to her and mentions the fact, yeah, I got burned by them. And Solitaire's kind of confused, but Solitaire doesn't really know how to take it, but he's talking to the other bug girl. And then we get the revelation, which is actually really interesting here. This next part is basically her, her telling that story and the fact that Solitaire kind of like, who's this girl? Doesn't know who she is. But then we get the biggest part of this story. The blonde haired cop goes to talk to the firestarter group and tells them, y'all want your revenge. I get that. But here's the thing, I need to protect my city. I'll do anything to protect my city. To the point where you make me one of your brainwashed people, and I'll do whatever you want. And I will not stop until my city is protected. To the point where the firestarter dude is not taking it. He doesn't believe him. All this kind of stuff here. And then he kind of just like, the conversation kind of stops there for a second, and then we about to head into Mikasa's section. So, Chris, what do you think from the time we got Solitaire stuff up until we got to Mikasa? So right before, so the up through the blonde haired cop stuff. What do you think about that section?
So again, man, it was just a lot more fight, and just like you said, that when the corpse guys, people kind of came out and they kind of explained what they do, what they're there for, and like kind of reminded him that they got this back, you know. And then I like how after they were brought back to life, you know, through necromancy, they all kind of knew what to do,
Yes, they did.
and then they all kind of split up and went to where they were needed.
Do you think? Do you think Solitaire? Because when Solitaire slides in that episode at the middle of this episode, he kind of mentions the fact that he didn't think this was going to go down the way it does, and he kind of was weirded out by it. But he understood. He didn't really understand what was going on. Do you think Solitaire was still kind of out of the know for the most?
Well, no, but see, Solitary is out of the know, but at least he's on the right track to finding out. Because see,
What's actually?
because he's saying that he saw or he recognizes where real magic come from,
Okay.
which now says which now you know immediately knowing that he's automatically you know not.
Yeah. And what you think about the blonde hair cop kind of confronting the fire starter dude and basically saying, "Take me as one of your people, but free everybody else, and I'll do what you want, or let me do my thing,
because
and I can get the world back to you know."
because that cop knows because the cop already knows he already has a rough idea on you know on how that's going to go down.
Yes, he does.
And so and low key, he's just really just calling the dude's bluff.
Yes, he
Like
is.
like what you're doing, we know that you can't just do it right off the back. But at the same time, we do know that you are capable of well X, Y, and Z.
Yes. Yep. Absolutely. So then we get to see Mikasa fight the spirit that's from Lulu, and basically all she wants is Pokey, but Lulu's trying to stop her, and but with the spirit's trying to stop her really. And the spirit kind of gets involved, but the spirit gets involved, kind of keeps Mikasa down. But then we get from that a tease of something from last week. So Lemmings came back last week. You see his hand come punch through for this fight. They fight. So it's Lemmings and the bodyguard fighting the daughter of the former secretary or commissioner, excuse me. And she's like, I'm gonna turn this form and wait, why aren't they scared of me? Why aren't they scared? Because they've seen weirder things. Literally seen weirder things. And this was the first time we got to see the bodyguard use that arm. He literally crushes a stone. As he's crushing that stone, he throws a punch at the girl. She gets knocked into the building. He says there's an earthquake. And then next thing we see everybody fighting with Pokey trying to stop the girl. And Pokey's like, she's still standing, but how? How's she still standing with all this magic? And this is where it gets kind of interesting. So She's still standing, but she's gaining more and more power, and you can tell she's gaining more and more power. And then the last thing I'm really get into is where you see somebody walking. I think that is one of the bodyguards, or not the bodyguard. That is the bodyguard running towards where Mikasa is and trying to help her out. And then Mikasa finally gets to get the shark, but at the same time, as she gets the shark, they get caught up in it. They get catched or caught by Spirit. The Spirit tries to really knock them down, but they get saved a little bit by unlikely heroes. One, the his actual sister and the matriarch both saved them, and then the actual spirit lady takes over the spirit and kind of gets it back out of her and calms her mind. Because she even says the spirit has came to this world to find a new host. So,
But
Chris,
not
what do you
only
think?
that, but I was gonna say like even in that spirit, like the spirit comes to like you said, but she said like even in the years that she had passed away, nobody learned to speak to spirits, which
Mm-hmm.
was one of the things that that helped ended everything that was going on.
Correct. And the corpse god could speak to spirits and listen to spirits as well. So he was one of the few that could take on that um,
Exactly.
spirit or the entity, the element. So what do you think about this section? So from the time we get to see the bodyguard use his arm, the lemmings fighting with him alongside him to beat the girl, Mikasa finally getting the shark back, and then the spirit lady getting the spirit and kind of cleansing Lulu of it and trying to make sure she's okay.
Well, I mean, bro, this was the ending to everything. This was everything kind of tying up and tying up loose ends and trying to see if we can prepare for a season three, but maybe not. That's the way it kind of looks.
Yes. So after this, we get a couple things. So after Lulu gets this, the lady helps Lulu get the spirit and everything. We see the matriarch and the sister make a pact. They said we're gonna let the bodyguard, their brother, choose what side he want to be on. Does he want to go with the matriarch or does he want to stay with the family? That's up to him. Until then, though, we do not fight. I was like, okay, so y'all are gonna fight for a while. But then we go back to the the civil son, and she's gotten stronger. She's kind of he's like, I'm gonna use all my power. I do not care anymore. I'm gonna do everything in my power to win this fight. And so she makes this large like magic circle, and then Pokey remarks that this circle reminds him of the former magistrate. I think the third grade magistrate of their world. He was a high ranking sorcerer in the royal court, and the majesty was like, you know what, I'm gonna help you with this. Use us until we have to finish this. So do whatever you have to. So she blocks all the stuff, and Pokey's like, thank you, I appreciate everything you've done. She mentions the fact that it's funny. People people look forward. People look ahead. People are going forward. They keep moving forward, and yet Pokey's like, how do you keep moving forward, magistrate? You're so far forward. You're so far ahead. And I think they're kind of talking about the fact like she's always looking ahead to what she's doing next, whatever that may be.
Exactly.
And it's funny, I don't think she mentions it, but she kind of talks about the fact that Pokey or the corpse god never really he always had a plan in mind, but he never really used the plan correctly. He kind of did things on the cuff. And that's kind of tying back in what the first scene of the show episode was. And the fact she says you don't really why'd you destroy yourself to help others? And she's like, it's your do whatever you want. It's your will. So whatever you want to do it. Don't feel like you have to be this person. You can do whatever you want to achieve this goal. And they kind of show him back in his corpse god form when he was in the island. So then the magistrate uses her power. Then you see his flash of light, and literally after this flash of light, we cut back to the cops, which is really interesting. Come back to the cops. The cops go. The blonde hair cop's still running down the fire starter dude. Basically, the point where he's about to give up his own life. He's literally on the brink of like signing his way his life. And the guy with the glasses that tells the black haired cop, "Hey, you need to stop him." All right, and he taps the black haired cop, taps on the shoulder, just decks him, and he's like, "You said if you ever went mad, we're kind of out. You went kind of out there. You told me to deck you with a punch." And he's like, "That was a hard punch." Did you? And he's like, "I held back. Did you?" And he's like, "Did you?" And then finally, the Firestarter people were like, "You know what? We agree with your resolution. We're fine with it. But if anything happens between now and then with the boy, which I'm guessing Pokey, we're coming back and destroying this place." So then all the Firestarter people lose the mind control. They're gone. And this starts where the song plays. At this point, the ending song plays, but it's not the ending song we've heard multiple times. This is, I think, a new ending song, and it fits this perfectly. So then the girl that's the Firestarter girl that was in the white coat up with Solitaire, she kind of turns around and goes, "Oh, you're Solitaire. Can I get your autograph?" And Solitaire's like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah. What about the spirit?" And he's like, "What about the spirit girl?" The spirit girl's gone now because her spirit's at rest. Then we see the bodyguard, um, the former the daughter of the commissioner. She's with the two lines licking her face. So basically, they left her laying. They didn't care, and then they didn't want to kill her basically. And then we see Pokey talking to Civil Son, and Civil Son asks, "Why did you kill me? Why didn't you take control of me?" "Well, I saw the explosion. I saw this little kid, and I don't want to make a kid sad. So what did I do? I I I saved your life because I don't want to mess with that." But they also meant, but then he goes, "Well, what happens if I'm? You're gonna regret that, right? Maybe. But if I regret that, it's gonna. I know what I need to do now to stop you or to start back up." And he talks about he had the the stones you paid with, so that's why I also saved your life. Then we see the fact that she says, this world is not as bad as it is, and this world is great. So we see Mikasa and Lulu come back towards them, talking and seeing if she's okay. We see Pokey and the spirit of the magistrate on this roof. We see a sniper aimed at his head. We hear the gun go off. We hear Lisa say the sniper took the shot, but no injury. And then we see Pokey standing there, fine, with the spirit of the corpse god behind him or over him. And that ends the episode. So, Chris, what do you think about this last section from the time we got the resolution with the cops to the end? What do you think about all that?
Hold up. So this, bro. Let me do something about how crazy this email. This, bro. Because now I just need to sum it all up. Now that we've gone through the whole show,
Yeah.
bro. If Pokey isn't the protagonist, who is the protagonist?
Ooh, that's a tough question. It would have been Hogorogi, but now he's been on the back burner for most of the season. It could be the cop, the blonde-haired cop, but that also is kind of odd. Uh,
Well, the answer the answer lies in itself because Corpse Guy is the protagonist, not Pokey,
Correct.
and he has that long weird name. That's the reason why we scared to say it. But yeah, but in this whole show, it's like we kind of see how Pokey kind of tries to find his place in this world, and he finds his place being using his skills to kind of help people out, but ultimately it's attracted the wrong type of people.
Correct.
So, so now we're at the point we are now.
And I skipped over a couple things, and I'll go back to them real quick. When Tech Dude is talking about everything that's gone on, and then Tech Dude gives a speech, and then after the speech, you hear Tech Dude talk again. At that point, you see, um, Pokey went to Solitaire to get some money. Pokey, the bodyguard shows the fact the money in the bank account, which we've seen already from when the magistrate took it out of the bank account of the bodyguard and the other bodyguard, the father's bodyguard, and gave it to him. The fact that Pokey also went back to Solitaire another time to get some help. So Pokey was already planning on doing things ahead of time, and he already had
Yep.
pre-planned a lot of stuff, which is also kind of interesting because that really ties back to everything we've seen up to this point. And it's hard to believe, but they did a very good job of keeping all that interesting without feeling like you're gonna just show it once or twice and not give a reason why it's there. This episode, you gave us a reason why all this has been going on. And if they do a season 3, you have two options. You literally could have him have gotten shot, and now he has to come back again as another person, or you don't have him get shot, and he ends up basically going after Lisa. But it's funny because Lisa says that she wasn't trying to do it to hurt him. She was trying to do it to let him have his peace. So
I
that
mean,
doesn't
but that was the point though. That was the point of the show is that, bro, as long as you exist in this world, you won't have peace.
correct. Correct. So I wonder what they're gonna do to make it make sense if they do a season 3, which I think there will be. The only other thing I could see them doing is if Lisa becomes the bad guy in this now, and then you're fighting Lisa's crew. That's going to be an interesting story to tell.
Mm.
Alongside the fact that Solitaire's on his side, Civil Son is on his side. Basically, you have all these people on Pokey's side now that can help him out. Plus, the cops are slowly figuring out what's going on, and eventually, I think the cops and Pokey will be on the same page. And I ultimately think, you know what's going to end up happening? I think the father, if this becomes true, I think the father goes ask Lisa for help.
When you say the father, you mean the younger dude?
The younger father. So the younger dude with the two bodyguards. I think he goes ask Lisa for help.
Nope. I think he's gonna make a deal with Firebug,
But they said they
and
would
then
disappear. But they said they
right.
disappear.
But towards the end, they was also saying that they might have to burn that whole city.
Yes, they would. Yeah, that's right. And they did say that. Yeah.
Hmm. But
It could.
I see the police tagging up with the evil dude, and he not even gonna know it.
Oh, so you see the police tagging up with the
The zombie
father.
girl. No, no,
Oh,
no. I see the police. The
so you
zombie
the
girl
police
in there.
have zombie girl poking. Okay, yeah, that's what I would say.
Hmm.
It's gonna be interesting because you make Lisa the villain. If you make Lisa the villain alongside Firestarter, that could be an interesting take. But the only problem with
Now,
that is the only problem with that is
Marisa
I
and
think
Lisa are already on the same team though,
yeah, they are.
and they're on the team with Pokey.
But why would you try to shoot the man? Like that's still kind of like that's still kind of weird when you try to shoot the man knowing the fact he has all this power.
That's the point. You can as many people as they want can call a hit on him, and he'll never die. That's a quick way for her to make money.
Correct. Correct. That's actually true. Yeah. I I think this season was so much fun to the point where I think they did such a good job keeping those stories rolling through. And yes, the characters drop out a bit a couple times. Yes, they did. But when the characters dropped out, they had a reason to drop out. So Solitaire dropped out a
Right.
couple episodes. Lisa dropped out a couple of episodes. When Solitaire came back, he had a reason to come back. When Lisa came back, she had a reason to come back. You had Lemming drop out for most of the season after what happened in the season 1. And he only pops up in one episode in season part 2 of season 1. And then he pops up back here. Pops back here, but teases in the second last episode, where he does the punch. Like this is the thing with this kind of storytelling. When you're telling a story this well and you keep people engaged, yes, the fights will get you in. And I think that's why a lot of people like the previous episode. There's a bunch of fights in this. But at the same time, when the storytelling and what they're trying to convey is this good, I don't think you can mess with that. It's so hard to it's so hard to figure out what that's going to tell you. Um so I have two questions for you, Chris. First of all, what would you give Dead Mount Death Play season 1 part 2 as a whole? And what would you give Dead Mount Death Play episode 24, the Shinjuku War, as a rating?
So as an episode, I'm giving it this score because they've kept the suspense throughout this show. And this episode was a nice, finally kind of like y'all did give us some new mysteries, but y'all did tie up every other loose end.
Yes, you
It
did.
did leave me with some questions at the end that's still questionable, but I'll be like, okay, maybe it kind of felt like they maybe had to rush the ending a little bit, but understandable. So I will get this episode a 9 even.
Okay, not even. What do you
Now for
feel?
the season, huh?
What do you feel like they rushed in the episode? Just to piggyback, you said they kind of rushed things on in the episode to tie up some stuff.
So like towards the end, the main villain was able to do a perfect circle. That's but you don't see what happens after. All of a sudden, she just like leaves, and then it was, and then because the other dude sacrifices himself,
Mm.
but then you clearly see him again at the end, like he's still there. So did he not?
So
Vampire
that's
Girl and Dragon Arm dude. They like I feel like they just kind of used Dragon Arm dude to kind of pinch a scene at the end at the end.
yeah, yeah. That's the one where he gets the arm in like episode like 6 or no, he gets the arm in like episode 20, like episode 19 or 20, but fully doesn't get a chance to use it until 24.
Right.
Um,
So I
I
hope we
do.
do get a season three so to see more of it.
Yo, yeah, I do agree with you. I don't. I do think that is one kind of small nitpick. I also agree. Yeah, the girl made the dude made a perfect circle, and that perfect circle ending up like not doing much. We see the explosion happen. The explosion kind of we don't see what happens after the explosion. Kind of just cuts to black, and then we just see the guy laying on the ground. So like he didn't kill him, but he didn't hurt him either, like crazily. That's kind of weird, but they explain that. They do explain why. Um, but what would you give the season as a whole?
For the season as a whole, I give it a 9.6.
Okay.
They kept the
Okay.
suspense up throughout the entire season, constantly giving us back and forth different different things and then adding new questions. Like they did really good. 9.6.
Okay. So for the episode, I would have to agree with the episode. Episode's a 9. Pretty much the same things you said, except for the only other thing I don't really kind of vibe with is the fact that I think the magistrate told him once, "Hey, if you need our help, call us." And then Pokey doesn't do it the first time, but then the second time around he does it. But that's because he felt like he needed to. That is kind of weird. They kind of left that open ended for a little bit. I don't mind the open ended nature of the ending either, but I do feel like if that's going to be the open ended nature of it, there's only one of the loose end I really wish you kind of would told us about. She's getting like the girl's getting licked by the tigers. So do Civil go find her or what? Like, do they explain why? Do they explain did he lose the dragon arm? Did the bodyguard lose the dragon arm and just left the tigers to lick her, or what? He doesn't. They don't really explain that very
You see
well.
what I'm saying? There were a lot of things they left questions for that I can see that they could or might answer in a third season.
Third season. As the season as a whole,
Technically second season, but yeah.
yeah. So part two, it's a part two of a season one, but yeah, second season overall. Uh, mm, I would have to give it like a 9.8. I think the big thing I think with this season where the pacing was better, the fact that you kept up the intensity in the sense like you didn't keep up with fights and things, but you kept it up with dialogue, moving story along, keeping asking us questions, giving us answers in episodes that answered previous questions, and doing other things like that. Um, it was actually pretty. It was a pretty good episode, like pretty good season. I think if season 3 happens, I think that would be the one thing I would say keep with is the pacing, because the pacing is actually pretty well done for this season. And
Exactly.
make it where the pacing doesn't slow down. Because season 1, the pacing was really slow, but it built up to this season where this season pacing was actually really well done and sped up well. Um, if we get a season 3, Chris, when would you think it would come out?
2025.
Okay, okay, yeah, that's
Yep.
what I kind of thought. That's what I kind of thought too. 2025. I would say late 2024 as well could be an option if they really want to do that. But it just depends how well it did. If it did well enough, I think we'll get a season 3. If it didn't, this wasn't a bad ending to it. I think there are more books technically, so I think there are another set of books that you can go with for this. But ultimately, I think they did a good job kind of tying loose ends, giving you all the information, and then leaving it open ended. So if they do make a season 3, you can start from that point, or you can start from scratch.
Yeah.
But that was episode 36 of the Anime Dojo. We'll be back next Tuesday. We have only one thing to watch now. We have JJK episode 47, the last episode of JJK for this season. That's going to be an interesting ride. We have some teases for things for that. We will get the preview for that tomorrow. Yeah, we'll get the preview for that tomorrow. So look forward to that. I will put this up on YouTube and Spotify like I always do, so that'll be up. And then we'll, by the time we finish JDK, we'll start up for the winter season. Most likely, we will probably do Magic Muscles, and then we might do either. We had a couple ones. We might do what's the one we talked about earlier this episode? One Soul. Is it One Soul?
Solo
Solo
player.
level. Yeah, solo level. We might do that. There's a couple other ones in there too. So we might just pick one of those and do them.
Was a really good one,
Yeah, Haiju was
especially
also good.
being as an anime from South Korea. Yeah, we definitely have some good
Yeah,
choices.
so we have some good choices for that. Magic Muscles because we've seen the first season and that's the first
It
season was
was
funny.
hysterical.
This
It was
season might be
hysterical.
even more funny. But like I said, I do thank you for watching. Hope you enjoy and hope you for next time. See you.
Later, deeds.